If you really want to hear about just the worst of the left, you have to hear about what's happening over the last 72 hours. Now, last week, I got a phone call during live calls on last Friday's show from a viewer asking me, what do I think about the AOC versus Jimmy Dore debate? And when the caller asked me about it, I had no idea what it was about. And the caller explained to me very, very politely, the debate is that a YouTuber named Jimmy Dore thinks that the squad should hold their votes for Nancy Pelosi's speakership hostage unless Nancy Pelosi is willing to hold a vote in the House for Medicare for all. And when the caller brought it up, I hadn't heard about it at the time. It started on Twitter the previous weekend. I don't watch the show that the caller mentioned. I wasn't on Twitter over that weekend, so I had no idea. I have now learned about it thanks to the caller. And the same thing continued to explode this weekend, where now even AOC apparently isn't progressive enough. AOC is failing progressive purity tests because she's unsure about the value of holding her vote hostage for a Medicare for all vote in the House. She's questioning whether that would really do anything for people with acute needs right now. Now, the funny thing about all of it, there's a bunch of funny things and some sad things and some infuriating things. One of the funny things about this is that for the last several years, when it comes to AOC, I've mostly been attacked for being too critical of AOC and for not being deferential enough to any of AOC's notions. When I found that she lacked knowledge or pragmatism in one place or another, I would mention it. People would be furious with me. Now AOC is actually the one being pragmatic, and the so-called populist left has turned on her. And what's really bonkers is that the populist left seems more angry with AOC than they are with Donald Trump when Trump is going lunatic authoritarian and had an Oval Office meeting over the weekend about whether he should declare martial law, if he even could, whether he should seize voting machines by force because he lost an election and he can't admit it. But the populist left on Twitter is focused on AOC. Now, in fact, I actually said about 7 to 8 months after AOC was sworn in, you know, guys, I have to tell you, I am pleased that AOC's political instincts are maturing since she's gotten into Congress. Her political instincts improved dramatically from the campaign AOC to when she was actually in office. Her pragmatism and her understanding of how politics works improved dramatically. And now, if you said to me right now, what is the most important thing to keep in mind about this issue? What is the most instructive possible takeaway about this spat that is taking place within the left, mostly on Twitter and Reddit? Well, there's actually a few takeaways. Number one, there is nothing wrong with, now I want people to take out a notepad and make a note of what I'm about to say, and don't email me about it, okay? Because I'm telling you right now, there's nothing wrong with people on the left criticizing others on the left. Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with progressives primarying centrist or corporate Democrats. That's great. That should be encouraged. Okay, great. There's nothing wrong with any of those things at a structural level. But the takeaways here are, number one, the so-called populist left on Twitter and Reddit represents a small but very vocal internet enclave that does not connect to most of what's happening in the real world. Now, we learned this, sadly, it was a rude awakening during the Democratic primary. How could Bernie possibly have lost? He had so much energy. He had the best streams. He had the best rallies. If you spent time on Twitter and Reddit, it looked like Bernie couldn't possibly have lost that primary. But he lost the primary by millions of votes, because most of the electorate and the Democratic Party voters are not in the internet populist left space. It's not a value judgment. It's an evaluation of fact. And if we don't get it, it'll continue to go this way. And this is the exact same thing. If you're a factory worker dad who's trying to figure out how to put food on your family's table for your 2 kids while continuing to work during a pandemic, and your employer might have to lay off 10% of the workforce due to the pandemic, and you might be in that 10% laid off, do you need a list of the members of Congress who support Medicare for all right now, particularly absent any actual credible way to get it passed as we are about to get a new Congress seated? I'm not saying the dad doesn't care about Medicare for all. I'm not saying that dad wouldn't benefit from Medicare for all. I'm saying Does anyone outside of these online spaces think that what is effectively a naughty and nice list in a Congress that has 2 weeks left before some leave and some new people get sworn in, that's what that dad cares about? Or imagine a business owner in Houston who sells wedding dresses, okay, and has seen their business decimated due to the pandemic. They're waiting on a second stimulus. They're wondering, when will people go back to weddings? That business owner is waiting on a vote on Medicare for all, which there is not even support for in the Senate anyway, and which Joe Biden didn't run on. What? Just to have a list of people to primary? So the point isn't that there's no place for such a vote or that it shouldn't be done. I'm fine with it. But attacking AOC now, because she's far more realistic about how politics works than much of the populist left, when we're trying to get a second stimulus, it looks like we're going to get a pathetic one. And we have so many other issues going on. And again, the president is talking about martial law and seizing voting machines. The point is AOC now is not left enough. She's not past the progressive purity test. It's another example of the left eating itself. If these people are even on the left, I'm not sure. And that's what's tricky about populist rhetoric. It sounds very similar on the left and right until you get to the solutions. Some of the so-called populist left now attacking AOC is praising Tulsi Gabbard, whose recent ideas on trans people and abortion don't look like anything I recognize as being part of the left. So maybe the issue, and I'm thinking out loud here, maybe the issue is that some of these people aren't really leftists. They seem more into what Tucker Carlson is proposing than what we see from AOC. Now, again, there are people who say, I'm not really on the left. So starting to say, well, this person is not really what they claim to be. I get that it's fraught and that it's problematic. And my point, again, just to restate it, is not that the left shouldn't criticize the left when the left fails to be left, as I've done many times. But the real issue here is that it seems to be a complete loss of the plot, for lack of a better term. Trump considering martial law, and people are saying AOC being unwilling to do something that will make no political difference anyway makes her enemy number one. This is how the left keeps losing. I want the left to win. I don't think this is the path to victory. Let me know what you think. I would love to hear from you. Remember that on January 1st, we will be doing a one-day membership special. The idea is to set the one-day record for new memberships. As we've speculated, my immoral, illegal membership specials could be clamped down on by the incoming Biden administration. So you got to get those memberships before Biden is sworn in. That's a joke. Everybody relax. We're just kidding around. But in all seriousness, on January 1st, we'll send out an email blast with a monstrous membership special. If you want to be notified about it, just get on my mailing list at davidpakman.com and let me know what you think about this entire AOC thing. You can find me on Twitter at dpakman.